Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon to others. Welcome to Hibernian Talks, the brainchild of Tim Noonan, one of our IT specialists and also member and president, still, I believe, of Chicago Division 32, and does a great job with us all the way around. Today, we have an author from Belfast, a good friend of the Hibernians, someone I had the opportunity to spend a couple hours with just Sunday last, Ricky O'Ra. To move forward with our introduction, we bring to you Tim Noonan. Tim, take it away.
Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it. Division 32 wouldn't have me. I'm with Division 59.
It's my math. It's my math. I knew that. I knew that. Your email's even Chicago 59,
Oh
so
yeah.
shame on me.
Thank you, Danny. Today we have Ricky O'Ra. He's returned to us with his most recent novel, Goerings Gold. Ricky's on the work. It was Blanket Man, Name of the Sun with the Jerry Conlon story, which then later became a play, which I think is still going on right now in Belfast, and Northern Heist, and now his most recent novel, Goerings Gold. So just a little, go through a little bit of the background of yours, Ricky. In 1977, you were arrested for a bank robbery in Northern Ireland. That's right.
That's correct.
Yeah. And then you had an 8-year stint in Longcash, and you became a PR officer for the hunger strikers, and that became that people from H Block, as many people knew. Why did, if you mind me, how old were you when you in 1977?
22 was, I'd already been in prison 3 times prior to that. I'd been interned twice, turned without trial, in Longcash twice, and I'd been charged with a kidnapping, with actually conspiracy to murder, and I beat that charge. And then I was caught on an IRA bank robbery in 1977, as you said, and I got 8 years, and I spent 6 of them in Longcash, and spent 3.5 of them on the blanket, as you said, also.
Now, what drew you to the IRA at that point?
Well, I mean, as I said before, I came from a very Republican family. My whole family is steeped in Republicanism. My father was OC of Belfast during one of the OC, he was the OC of Belfast during part of the 1940s campaign. So, and his brothers and all were in the IRA. They'd all been in prison, interned without trial themselves. During those times, my father escaped out of Derry jail, tunneled out with 16 other IRA prisoners. So, and he was again interned during the IRA's campaign in the 1950s. So, I mean, IRA people were in and out of our house every week. And I was sort of I wouldn't say indoctrinated, that would be the wrong word, but I was certainly brought up within the Republican ethos. I mean, the first song I ever learned was Kevin Barry.
Yeah, right. So it was kind of how you were brought up, and that's
exactly, and that was the sort of background. So my going into the IRA was hardly something that wasn't expected. You know, I'd have been in the IRA whether there had been troubles or not.
Now, in regards to being a public relations officer, what was it about you that you were able that made you qualified to be a public relations officer? You were 22 years old. Didn't seem like that would be a probably not really strong school background, I assume, but I guess that's only assumption. But what made you find you to be more of a PR officer from that end?
Well, it was actually Bobby Sands who picked me. And why did he pick me? Well, I could write. I could always sort of string a few words together. And in 1979, the Brits prison authorities took the leadership of there was 3 H blocks, and they took the leadership out of the H blocks and they put them in about a mile away from the rest of the prisoners to try and isolate leadership and to break communications. The first thing Bobby did, Bobby was the PRO at that time, and Brenton Hughes, the Dark, was OC. First thing Bob done was set up a propaganda factory.
That's Bobby Sands, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to. Yes.
Right, Bobby, yeah. Set up a propaganda factory, and it was about 6 of us, and that's what we done every spare minute of the day that we had. Now, you couldn't really do it. You could only do it during the breaks when the prison officers weren't on the wing. But we were sending out tiny communications to the outside leadership, principally to bodies in America, and principally through our dear friend Martin Galvin, who's a head, and that's what we done. And then I think Bob noticed that I had a sort of a way with the old words. And when the time came for him to go on hunger strike, he picked me to be PRO, and that was basically it.
Yeah, that's what I was actually, that's what I thought was pretty impressive for for a young man to be picked for that. And I know Bobby Sands was quite a writer himself.
Bob was great. Bob was such a talent. Bobby was writing poems. He was writing texts. He was writing scripts. He was writing songs. I mean, Bobby wrote Back Home to Derry. He also wrote a great little song about a potching maker called McElhatton, who lived in the Glens of Antrim. So he was a very talented guy, and awful loss to Irish literature. Never mind the revolutionary end of it. He was an awful loss to Irish literature.
Yeah, what a talent too. And so I was wondering. It kind of led to my next question about your writing style. So it was recognized early that you know how to string some words together, as you say, and then that you're able to put out messages to the outside world about what was going on. So, now, how did this experience make you want to write, like, say, a book or something, or something to that effect? Well, how did you leverage this PR aspect to then writing?
Well, actually, it didn't, Tim. This sort of way came about. My writing career, for want of a better word, came about as a sort of a fluke, and because I didn't really have time to write. I had businesses to run and stuff like that there, and but in 2001, the Boston College project library, which was run by Ed Maloney and Anthony McIntyre, and there's another fellow as well, I can't remember his name. But the point is, they interviewed me for the idea behind it was that they were going to get people who'd been involved in the struggle and get their stories, and their stories would be printed after they died, right? And so Anthony McIntyre done 10 interviews with me, and in the 10th one we dealt with the hunger strike, and I had well, not bad, but I had issues with the way the Republican leadership on the outside handled the hunger strike, certain members of the Republican leadership. And I ended up telling the story, the story of what really happened in the days preceding Joe McDonnell's death. Joe McDonnell was the 5th hunger strike to die, and there was an offer from the British whereby, which me and then the OC, Brendan McFarlane, accepted, and the outside leadership rejected it. It was a committee headed up by Jerry Adams. They rejected it, and I had real trouble because our writ should have been obsolete. The prisoners' writ should have been obsolete, and it wasn't. The hunger strike was being run by these guys on the outside. There was something like 8 or 9 guys on hunger strike before Joe died, and another 6 of them died. So the issues was very, very serious. And when I gave the interview to Anthony McIntyre. I broke down completely. Talk about a watershed moment. This literally a watershed moment that I cried copiously. And I actually said that Macca was there in the end. I'm not bloody well waiting till I die for this to come out. I'm going to write it up now. That's exactly what it did. I mean, and it always reminded me a wee bit of an alcoholic. First thing an alcoholic has to do is to admit he's an alcoholic. And until he does that, he's in trouble. And that's the first step. So once I'd actually said this to another human being, what really happened here, everything changed for me. I was just totally focused on writing that book, Blanket Man, and getting it out and getting that story out and correcting what I seen was an awful historical injustice.
So the Blanket Man came out in 2005. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. So very good. You know what? So I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with what is a blanket man or a blanket wing.
No, it's Blanket Man.
You were the blanket men, but you were on a wing. It was
yes. We were all in. Well, think of a hitch, and there's a crossbar in the middle of the hitch, and the four ends is where the wings were, and we were in them we were there. We were on the blanket. The blanket lasted for 4 years, and I was on for 3.5 of those 4 years. So pretty horrendous time.
And then in a few years later, then you were Matt. You were your good friend Jerry Conlon had talked to you about writing a book. Is that right?
Yeah, Jerry had been away. I only seen Jerry a few times from he got out of prison in 1989 because he was living in London at the time. Sometimes he came over to visit his mother, and me and him would have met. But other than that, he was living in London, and then Jerry was down in Plymouth trying to get off crack cocaine, trying to get his life back. So all of that there was impactful. But he came back to Belfast. I think it was about just after his mother died. Sarah died, I think it was 1997. I think it was 97, 96, 97. And then he came back and he lived here permanently. So me and him just started off where we'd always been, best friends. We went out for breakfast at least once a week. We went to theatre. We went for a pint occasionally. And he was my mate. We could have talked about anything, Tim. We didn't have to, there was no shyness amongst us. One of those situations, one of those friends that you can tell him anything. This is your mate, and it's not going to go anywhere, and you'll get good advice, and vice versa. It worked the other way as well. So one day we were out for breakfast. This would be about 2000 or about 2006, maybe 7. And he said to me, "I want you to write my book." By that stage, I had already written 2 books.
Yeah.
I had written After Blanket Man and Afterlives, which is a sequel to the Blanket Man. And he said to me, "I want you to write my book." And I told the story. He said, "You wrote it yourself. You wrote your own biography." I said, "By the way, Jerry, in case it slipped your mind, Daniel Day-Lewis played you in The Name of the Father. He almost got an Oscar for it." And he done a dance. No, effing no. My story hasn't been told. My story doesn't start till I get out of jail. So one thing led to another, and I committed to doing it, but not right away because I had other writing commitments. And sort of we left it at that. And then in 2000 but that actually was a lot later than I said it was. That was about 2010. And then about 2014, I got a call. I'd actually been out for breakfast with them the day before. And I got a call from his sister saying that he was in hospital. And the day before, he was great, fabulous, no problems at all. And she said to me, Jerry's in hospital and he wants to see her. I says, what's he in for? She says, Ricky, it's not good. He says, what do you mean? She says, he wants to see you. It's very, very serious. And then I found out that he had 3 weeks to live. I went down and seen him, and it was a very emotional sort of visit. And I committed once again to writing a story, which I did, which he passed. And I immediately, I was actually lining up Northern Heist to be written before Jerry's story. So I had to put Northern Heist on the shelf and get straight into the Conlon story and get it into shape and do the interviews and all the research, etc. that was involved in it. And I did it, and we released that in released the Conlon book. I think it was 2017. And so that was that done. So, and then after that, of course, you had Northern Heist.
Which is my next question is, what made you go from nonfiction to fiction? What made you become more of a storyteller rather than a?
I'm one of those guys that I'm genre free. I don't like the idea of being stigmatized as a factual writer or a fictional writer. I write whatever. I write for enjoyment, Tim, really, because there's no money in it. So I write for enjoyment, and I write whatever interests me. And this Northern Bank Robbery always intrigued me, because it was such a beautiful work of art. To be frank, and that's me being. And I'm not being facetious, but from a certain point of view, it was a work of art, and I was always interested in it. And I look for situations, and my daughter Bernadette was very instrumental in me writing that book, because she was with me when we discussed the possibility that the IRA didn't rob this bank. The IRA did rob it. There's no one else, in my view, there's no one else in Ireland had the professionalism to pull this bank robbery off the way it was done.
The Northern Heist is just real quickly is a book about, there was a bank robbery in a bank in Northern Ireland, and it's going through basically that's the story. It's goes on as a bank robbery in 2004, right?
That's right. It's a bank 21st of December 2004, my birthday actually. So that's how I remember the date. But it was a huge bank robbery. £26.5 million was taken. They literally took every penny that was in the bank. The people in the bank hadn't enough money to get the taxi home.
So quite a haul.
Well, they brought a big lorry and filled it twice. They filled it once and took away £16.5 million. And then they came back and filled it up again. And took the other 10 million quid, 10 million pounds out of it as well, and they got clean away. And it was they who ended up phoning the police and telling them, by the way, we've just robbed your bank. And that was it. So it always intrigued me. And I started, myself and Bernadette were in the town in a wee pub called the Duke of York. I was having a pint, she was having a Coke. And we discussed an alternative viewpoint of it. The alternative viewpoint was that it was done by a master criminal, a really sharp individual who can think on his feet, who can see patterns, who can put a crack team together. And we, before the hour was out, we had come up with the bold Whyruxins Age. And we actually had his name, Whyruxins Age. So he was sitting there on the boil for quite a while, for years. And then once I got the Jerry book out of the way, we sat down, really sat down, and started putting the bones of the story together. Who is he? What is he? Where does he come from? Who's his companions? What's his love interest? all the stuff that you do, we started putting that together and then started writing it up.
And now the Ruxins, that's a what is that? What does Ruxins mean? To describe
Ruxins means anarchy. It means raddus, right? It means someone. If you're causing ructions, you're causing rats. You're the bad boy of the house. You're the guy who's breaking the windows, who's shouting and squealing and being an absolute pest. That's what Ruxins is. Ruxins is another word for anarchy.
So I was going to ask you later about if there's any relation between you and Ruxins, but maybe I shouldn't have.
I should be so lucky.
But anyways, so there, so what inspired you was the bank robbery that actually did happen, and then you took it and spun it from a crack team of bank robbers, and that were able to pull off this caper, if you will. So why this story? Is it just that it intrigued you, that the elegancy of the robbery?
Yeah, the actual robbery itself, I found very intriguing, and I also found it was a sort of tongue-in-cheek thing, right? Because everyone was saying two governments, Irish, British government, all the parties in Stormont, it almost brought down the peace process, because and the provosts, the IRA were very much in the mix, and it was a huge event over here and in Britain, I mean, the Ruxins guy drew me. See, once me and Bernadette settled on this geezer, this guy Ruxins O'Hare, this very name sort of way drew me in, and I wanted to develop this character, see where he takes me, and that was that. I mean, I have quite a few ideas, and sometimes so they work and sometimes they don't. But I was always had a great feeling for this guy and for the Ruxins boyo, and I always had a great feeling that he would work. He will appeal to the rogue in us all, to the villain in us all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he's that type of fella. He's that type of, you know. So and basically that's what drew me to the book.
Oh, very good, very good. So now you have the latest book coming out, Goerings Gold, and Whyruxins is now made a return, and he's living off the proceeds from the bank heist, right? So he has moved to France to kind of to hide out, so to speak. What sort of research did you need to go to France to be able to kind of get the flavor of it, or?
No, well, I've been to France several times. I mean, I've been to Paris and, you know, in and around Bordeaux and stuff. So I had a fairly decent idea of the countryside and where it was. No, the idea for Ruxins had to hide up somewhere. So I picked, you know, I was sitting in the house one night and I had a lovely big bottle of Bordeaux beside me, right? And a glass of red wine. And it says, where am I going to put this fella Ruxins? And I looked at the glass. Bordeaux.
There's a lot of stories start with the glass of wine.
And it was as simple as that. It was as simple as that. So once I put it in Bordeaux, I went and done a whole bucket of research on Bordeaux. Where exactly in Bordeaux? What is so innovative about Bordeaux? Why is it such a famous wine growing country, or grape growing country, or area? And I settled for I settled for living, actually buying his own vineyard and having a very good life with Eleanor until Tiny Murdoch and the IRA show up, and in which case he has to literally do a runner, get offside before he could shot dead. But Bordeaux was there had been a battle of Killian Wayne being ended up in Chile.
Liquid inspiration. So why Goering? Why pick him?
This is great. I love history, and I particularly love modern European history, and I particularly love the Second World War. And out of all the Nazi leaders, the most charismatic was Goering, Hermann Goering. He was the Reichsmarschall of Greater Germany. He was number 2 behind Hitler, and he was a 6-star general, and he was a big fat oaf, right? And he truly was. He was a morphine addict. He loved the Cuban cigars. He loved the lovely red wines. He loved the hunt. He loved garish outfits. You know, he was a good time Charlie. And he really didn't even want the war. I mean, all he wanted was give me the dough. And he was a kleptomaniac into the bargain. He couldn't have you seen a Rembrandt on a wall of some Dutch theatre or some Dutch museum? He took it. He was a kleptomaniac into the bargain. And all of that, for me, made him a character. As opposed to Hitler, Keitel, Donitz, and all the rest of the Nazi leaders, he was by far and away the greatest star. He was a monster. But from a writer's point of view, he was intriguing, and even more intriguing than that, Tim. He was sentenced to be hung at the Nuremberg trials. And he didn't want to be hung. He didn't particularly want to die, but he didn't fear death. He wanted to be shot like a soldier because he was a 6-star general. And the Allies refused to give him that honor. So he was found in his cell having bitten on a cyanide tablet shortly before he was to be hung. So there was a whole hue and cry. How did he get the cyanide tablet? They had searched him, they'd searched his mouth, and there was no cyanide tablets on him. So there was speculation that one of the American guards, right, had slipped him a cyanide tablet, and that's a mystery to this day, how he got this cyanide tablet. So that's what I love. I love unsolved mysteries, right? And that sort of way was the kernel of the book, because in the book, Goering does a deal with an American guard. You get me the cyanide tablet, and I'll give you my ceremonial baton, right? And the baton will be it'll be very valuable. So that's the exchange that happens. And as it turns out, the baton ends up in the possession of Ruxins' friend, Serge Mercier, who is a fence. He launders money, he launders paintings, etc., valuable art and stuff like that. So it ends up with Serge, an outfit called the Fourth Reich, which is a neo-Nazi group in Germany. They actually exist. They find out that Mercier has the baton, and they go to get it back. They actually put on a paramilitary raid on his house. They shoot one of his servants dead, but they don't get it. And then so they say they'll be back. So Mercier is in trouble. So he turns to Ruxins, and Ruxins is like the Lone Ranger. He rates him to down. I'll solve your problems. But he didn't even know what the problems was. It ends up that the baton's value wasn't actually in the actual baton itself. It's the baton is a key to Hermann Goering's treasure. Before 1944, before the war ended, he met a former keeper of the Irish Museum who was German in real life, and he sent him on a mission to hide tons of Nazi gold. And the baton's the key to finding that gold. And Ruxins has it, and everybody knows he has it. The Interpol knows he has it. The police, the Gardaí down the south know he has it. The RUC knows he has it. Fourth Reich. No, he has it in the IRA. No, he has it. Everybody's chasing them because everybody wants the more. They want the gold.
Sure.
So that's so it's like a treasure hunt on Treasure Island. Treasure Island being Ireland.
So there's how does Otto Skorzenny
Really?
he's known as the most dangerous man in Europe, and he later becomes a farmer in County Kildare. How does he factor into the story?
Well,
Too much.
Corsilli was very, very close to Goering, right? They were very good friends, and he actually lived in Kildare from, I think it was 1958 to 1964, and he was fated. He was fated by the political class, by Charles J. Hawkey, who was Minister of Finance at the time, and all the politicians, etc. Because Corsilli was first and foremost a soldier, and he was respected as a soldier even by his enemies. But he was also a very ruthless man, and he, in the book, he knows that the gold is somewhere in Ireland, and he knows that it's somewhere down the east coast of Ireland. So he buys this ranch, and he sets about trying to find it, but he doesn't find it.
Now, the story of that's actually true. He was a farmer in
Yeah, absolutely. I think he had something like 200 acres.
Oh, did he?
200 acre spread in County Kildare. He was well known. He used to go down to the pub and all, have a pint with the locals. He was well got. Then he moved to Israel.
Sorry, go ahead.
And then he moved to Israel.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he moved to Israel. I think not Israel. Sorry, the Canary Islands.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He moved to the Canary Islands. Yeah.
It'd be bold to go to Israel. Now you're introducing Eleanor as part of it, Eleanor Proctor. Now you have her to be. How are you using her as a character in your book?
Well, Eleanor is Whyruxins' the love of his life, but she wants a quiet life. Whyruxins is a daring do type guy. He gets bored, Tim. He gets bored, and it's almost with Whyruxins. It's almost as if the job, the thrill of pulling off something spectacular is like a drug, and she can't handle him at all. She can't handle this madness, for want of a better word. And she is when she finds out about the baton, she finds out that the Fourth Reich have killed Serge Mercier's servant. She finds out that the cops all over Europe are searching for Whyruxins. She goes nuts, and she says, "I can't have it. I don't want it. I want a quiet life." You have to remember, she was a banker's wife, right? Born banker. You know, most bankers are born paid for the bargain, but she can't hack it. So she actually leaves him and comes home to Ireland. Whereupon she's kidnapped by the IRA, who use her as leverage for Whyruxins to tell them where the gold is. And there's a whole rigmarole about that. Then Whyruxins is phoned up by the top IRA man, big Tiny Murdoch. And Tiny says, I've got your missus here. And Whyruxins says, "Brilliant. Well done. Good luck with her. I couldn't handle her at all." It's breaking his heart, like. But he said, "I couldn't handle her at all. I hope you have plenty of children." And the man says, No. It's not like that. We've got her. He says, No. Look, for these, I don't care. Well done. I'm just like, I hope you invite me to the wedding. There's not going to be a, and he's putting Big Tiny's head away because he's not taking him serious, but he knows exactly what the IRA guy's saying. We have your woman, and if you don't cooperate with us, we'll kill her.
Yeah.
But he has this way of controlling the situation, even when it's very adverse, even when the other side will hold all the cards. He still has this way of you'll never see Ruxins actually at his weakest. At his weakest, he keeps it to himself. And Eleanor was crucial. Eleanor is crucial to a lot of it, and he ends up. Can't really tell you too much.
Yeah, no, I understand. I didn't want to go into too much.
But Eleanor's crucial to the story.
Yeah, and then and Serge is the Mercier. He's the one who actually links Ruxins to the baton, and that's that link there. So excellent.
That's it. Yep.
So go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. No. That's it. Serge is pushing on in years, and he's very lucky to have Ruxins as a friend. I wouldn't mind having Ruxins as a friend.
Now, so how did you research this book? I mean, what sort of research did you have to do to get this book together?
Well, most of it was done in the library. Got books out about Bordeaux. I got stuff out. I actually went to Donegal. And part of it, there's part of it in Donegal. There's a great story here. I was originally going to hide the gold on an island in the Shannon. Shannon River runs right down the spine of the west coast of Ireland, and it's the biggest river in Ireland, and it's dotted with little islands all over the place. And on one of these islands, there's a round tower. And I was going to have it that the gold was in this round tower. That the gold was delivered via U-boat. Right, the Shannon's deep enough for a U-boat to come in. And I was sitting in the pub one day with a journalist, BBC journalist, good friend of mine, and I was telling him about it, and he says, "No. It's the very place for you. I can't tell you where this is, right? Well, you know where it is. You've read the book." He says, "I have the very place for you." And so me and him jumped in the car the next day and away on down into the bowels of Ireland, for want of a better word. And he showed me this lovely, beautiful, tranquil little graveyard. And he says, and there's a round tower in it. He says, that's where your gold is. And it wasn't just as simple as that. So that wasn't just as simple. I mean, it wasn't as simple as that, but that was the sort of stuff. And on top of that, I had to do a lot of research on neo-Nazis. I had to sort of I mean, there's no point writing these things. When you're writing about neo-Nazis, you have to be in their head.
Yeah.
You have to. If there's a guy called Keller, he's the top man. I had to be in his head to make him credible. So I had to do an awful lot of research on neo-Nazis and on Interpol as well. And you know, these things take time, Tim, and you just have to. It's like doing anything. You have to do the work, and you have to know your subject, and you have to know the geography and everything else. I had to go down, literally had to go down, see this place, talk to the wee speakerphone. Over here we have the round tower. Here we have such and such a grave and stuff like that. It's just work. You have to do it.
Now, without giving too much away, is there column 18 actually exist, or is that something that's made up?
Combat 18 did exist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was an extreme right-wing loyalist organization. And loyalists in general are very right-wing, but these guys was way out on the other side of them, and they were neo-Nazis themselves. They put out Nazi propaganda with swastikas and stuff, and then they were knocking around for about 10 years, and then they sort of just dissipated. They just sort of went into the ether. But they were a bad bunch. I'm not too sure if they were killing people, but they certainly hated Catholics. They hated the Catholic Church. They hated um, nationalist political parties, right? I'm not too sure if they were armed, right? They were supposed to be very heavily armed, but they sort of just faded. But they suited my story. I mean, their existence was very handy.
Now, so when you're writing these books, what is like a typical day that do you do? Do you write every day, or do you just kind of run with it and then till you run out of ideas? Like, how do you generally your approach to writing?
Normally, when I'm in the zone, I would be reading from about 6 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes even earlier, Tim, because that's when I find anyway. I find that when I'm reading at that time in the morning, my head is bubbling with ideas. I mean, but bursting with ideas and bursting with little phrases that will enhance the book. You know, I told you this one, the Jerry Conlon book. Jerry Conlon made friends like hillbillies made moonshine. That's the sort of, that's the sort of stuff that I like to have in my book. Stuff that's original, that's entertaining. And in the mornings, when I write in the mornings, I'm absolutely tuned in. And I would be like that from, say, 6 o'clock to maybe 12 in the day. And then it would be like a burnout.
Right. Actually, it was a funny quote. There's a friend of mine who referred to about working. He was like, I'm working like a rented mule. Which was a great line.
Brilliant, yeah.
So, now with you received a lot of great publicity from for Goerings Gold. From there was a review in the Wall Street Journal. There was one in the New York Times. That must be really overwhelming, So those are some. Well, from American standpoint, those are really some.
Those are around the world.
Yeah.
To say any author in the world, this isn't an American thing, to get a review in the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal is off the Richter scale. It's incredible. And for me, it was just absolute. I mean, Michael Barston, the publicist for Melville House, the publishers of the book, never phoned me, sent me an email and said, guess what, Rick? You're in the New York Times. It's a great review. Unbelievable. It almost hit the ceiling. Incredible. I mean, but every reader wants the New York Times. Every reader wants the Wall Street Journal, right? They're huge. And most readers will go through their whole lives and they'll never get near them.
Right. You got them both in one shot, huh?
I got the both of them in one shot, and I got the Wall Street Journal for Northern Heist.
So it must be really incredible for having that from the first book of fiction that you came out with, and you got right up on the list there, huh?
Well, it was. I mean, I try not to get too excited about these things, but it's difficult, Tim, especially when you've got that sort of, for want of a better word, success in terms of how your work is being viewed. Because there's a lot of work goes into it, hundreds and hundreds of hours, and and you're never sure. The writer's never sure that it's just quite good enough, right? Now, your daughter or your wife or someone will say it's very good, it's excellent, but it's not excellent until it hits the reviews.
Yeah. That's
and then you get a review from the Wall Street Journal. You've cracked it, and I was very, very, very thankful and very appreciative. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I imagine having the reviews like that for the books is just it's You know, it's how you can't really settle and think about it much because you'd probably never write again in that case. Now, is there any thoughts on any anybody picking up either Northern Heist or anybody talk about picking up Goerings Gold for putting it onto film or on the small screen? Any discussion?
Yeah. There's all Goerings Gold or Northern Heist on Goerings Gold have both been optioned out to production companies, the same companies, and RTE, the state broadcaster down in Dublin. They want to put on a Northern Heist as a 5 or 6 part television sequel.
I can see that.
So, and it doesn't stop there. There's a very, very good chance that In the Name of the Sun, it's Jerry Conlon's story. It's busting to be made into a movie or something because it is so vivid. It is so real. It is so touching. I mean, it would reach out in the play, for example. The play is a way, our play that myself and Martin Lynch wrote. Martin is one of the local playwrights. It's in the Grand Opera House, which holds 1,100 people for a week at the end of July, and then it's away to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival for a month. The Jerry Conlon story is incredible, and it's a good chance. I suspect that the Conlon story will be made into a movie too. But
very good.
Certainly Northern Heist has gone down that road. RTE love
it. I'm sure, there was a story I heard of about Randy Newman, who is I'm sure you probably know Randy Newman.
Yeah, of course.
He said he liked to sit on the at the back to the door because he didn't want to be recognized. His kids made fun of him the entire time, like nobody knows you. As you're probably. Now Ruxins, you have him to be about in his 40s.
Yeah.
And what is that like? Why that age, not younger or older? I guess probably wanted some experience. And writing also from your age, you're a bit older than Ruxins. How do you kind of see? How can you write from a younger person's point of view? I guess maybe from being there, of course, but how can you write it from that standpoint where you are now?
Well, I mean, I'm only 26 myself. You know what I mean? You have to.
Well, I know. I mean, I'm saying from an older person.
This is actually
you don't have all that experience.
No, it's not that hard to do. In terms of careers, I think most people don't hit their peak until their mid 30s, and between mid 30s and mid 40s. And I wanted Ruxins to have a certain maturity about him. And I wanted him to see a bit of life, and I wanted him to be someone who has experienced life and can handle it. And so therefore, and I didn't want him to be too old. There's no point in me putting Ruxins in the late 50s or whatever, early 60s. He had to be a tough guy. He can handle himself. He had to be around life long enough to know the vicissitudes, it's a nice word, the ups and downs, the vicissitudes that come his way, and how he handles them. And all of that there told me that Ruxins has to be early 40s. And that still had his looks, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Still like myself.
I know. Comment about my hair before there. I go, I have it though. I have it.
Well, yeah. Well, that's it. I'm hanging on with mine, the skin on my teeth. But in his early 40s, still knocking about, still totally tuned in, looking for opportunities, and if the right opportunity comes, actually taking them. So that's the age that I seen him at, and I hadn't a problem breaking it up from that point of view.
Very good. Now, I want to kind of leave a little bit of time left for anybody if has any questions, because I can keep on going here. So let me see if anybody has any questions. I think Martin has a question. Let me see if I can do this. All right, Martin, you're unmuted, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Am
yeah.
I? Okay.
Yeah.
Rick, first of all, congratulations. This is a tremendous book. I don't usually, I just sent word out to some of the Hibernians. I usually just concentrate on political stuff, but this is
Yeah.
a great book. It's like a triple Ocean's 11 because they have more double crosses, more different groups of characters coming in. It's the type of thing you read for a few pages, you think Ruxins just escaped, and now something else completely blindsides him from somewhere else, and you have to come out of it. Oh, I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want to give the plot away. Just a couple of quick questions I just wanted to ask. Number one, I can't help but think we had the Queen's Jubilee was been on the news here like it has been everywhere else. I remember the impact that you were having, Bobby Sands was having, the hunger strike was having in 1981. And one of the things the British did was to send Prince Charles his first visit to the United States. I mean, you guys were there, you're writing statements, you're smuggling out to the press center. They would go all around the world, be sent to New York, to me in New York, they'd go all around the country, they'd be read everywhere, they'd be on every TV station. And the impact was such that he appeared at Lincoln Center and they had 20,000 people protesting against him and Nancy Reagan. He complained actually to the mayor of New York, they were embarrassed. Did you have any idea? You're sitting in a cell with one other person, you're smuggling statements out. Did you and the people in Longcash on the hunger strike have any idea about the impact that you were having, something that would inspire politicians to come up with an Irish agenda that Bill Clinton would finally get a look at and approve and open up the peace process?
Well, we didn't really, Martin, because the one thing we didn't know was that outside kept demanding these little columns, communication, little copy, tiny bits of cigarette papers, which we smuggled out. They kept demanding them. But the one thing that we really were aware of was the Longshoreman. The Longshoreman came out in New York and literally closed down the ports to support the hunger strikers. And that got back to us. And I tell you, such an impact that had on us, because, and it wasn't just that, there was all sorts of hackles and criticism of the Longshoreman from British politicians. And we loved that. I mean, bring it on, criticize all you want. We were delighted. America was fantastic. We always knew America was the key. America was the key to opening up the H-blocks. America was the key to opening up the whole Irish question. And as it turned out, we had the Good Friday Agreement, which was American inspired. Well, certainly America played a huge part in it. Senator Mitchell and co. So, I mean, we were always very conscious of the American sort of influence on events over here.
Just one other thing, and by the way, I want to mention a plug. I am going to be speaking later at Sean Penda's fundraiser in Hamilton, New Jersey. And I know there is also, if you live close to Albany, there is one for Liam McNabb and Tim McSweeney. So I just want to mention that also, that those things are going on today. I know your publisher wanted to bring you to the United States, and I'm sure it would help if you could come to the United States, start to negotiate about these books, whether, I know they'd love to have it, the play In the Name of the Sun, that one-man play in New York, either on Broadway or off Broadway, get to Hollywood, just something there. You can't come to the United States because of the fact that you were a political prisoner in 1978. How much would it mean to get you out here, and what can we do, the AOH, to help you and others in that position get out here?
Well, it's a pretty bizarre situation. We have the Good Friday Agreement, which was signed in 1988. This is 2022. That's 24 years ago. The last time that I was arrested by the British was in 1977. That's almost 50 years ago. And I can't get into America because of it. And it's galling right? To be honest, it's very, very frustrating because last year, just after Northern Heist, there was a university tour lined up for me, as you remember, with Bob White and some others. And I couldn't go on it because I couldn't get a visa. My producer is talking very, very strongly about bringing in the name of the sun to New York. At the start, anyway, he'd probably do a bigger tour, but that's what he's talking about. And I can't go on that either. And it's very frustrating because when you don't understand, this is stuff that happened virtually 2 generations ago. And you're still being crucified for it. And it's not, see, above everything else, Martin, it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not the right thing to do. The American government, or whoever makes these decisions, should be a lot more rounded and a lot more, not kinder, but they should certainly be more generous in their approach to this.
Well, they were supposed to reward people who make contributions to peace, and you're certainly somebody who has been supportive of peace in Ireland for all those years, given examples, spoken out against any group that would use armed struggle now in conditions where it's totally not justified. And one would think they would adjust to that, pay attention to that, and at some point we'll be able to see you out here in person. I'll let that go to somebody else if they have there are others with questions.
Thank you, Martin. Great job, as always. Ricky, I was able to get a book directly from you, and you actually gave me two. And since they were both signed and one was personalized, I found my nephew, Martin, and I was able to give that second book to my nephew, Martin Brinker. So you'll have to get another one to Martin Galvin. But I was told it just said Martin, and hey, that's perfect. A good birthday present for my nephew. Appreciate it. But from, I know writers, you have your books are sold so many places, but where is the place I'm going to go today and order a book? What's the best way for me to order that book?
Probably Amazon.
Okay. Amazon, I've heard of that.
It's Amazon. You'll get a fairly prompt delivery from them, and I don't want to be starting to rubbish in bookshops.
No, I understand. I just wanted to find out, because we will. This video now will be sent to all of our divisions, and it's a Saturday morning, and we're just getting into the spring here, and the nice weather here in the United States, and so many of our folks are out there cutting grass and so forth. So next week, this video of today's presentation will go to 18,000 members, and we have a link in that. We will have a link in that will go to your Amazon page that will take them to your book, and we encourage everybody to take the time to purchase the book. It's a great read. I began it on the airplane home. It's a great read. It keeps your interest, and so I'm very excited about that. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your time 2 weeks ago to come and visit with my family. They're still talking about it. It's one of the highlights of our trip, which was just wonderful. So if that's one of the highlights that they've shared back with me, I know everybody enjoyed talking to you, and send our love to Bernadette, because everybody enjoyed her. And she was telling us how many great-grandchildren are in the family. It was 104 or...
Oh, Donnie, I have a clue.
So it's a large family. And that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to Tim Noonan, who will close this version of Hibernian Talks. I want to congratulate you. I want to congratulate Tim. Thank Martin, as always, a great inspiration to us when he's able to join us on these talks and bring some of it right to the core of what the Ancient Order Hibernian is doing today. So Tim, it's all yours.
Thanks, Danny. I want to thank Chris Cook and yourself, Danny, to make this, from a standpoint, effortless, from us, where you don't have to deal with a lot of the technologies. And I, of course, want to thank Ricky for his hard work and his great book and taking out the time to talk to us today. We want to congratulations on the success of his of Goerings Gold. And what I suggest is you got to buy this book. The Amazon has the book, and there's bookstores.com or .org is a site of independent bookstores that are local to you. So if you have a moment, please check it out, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, guys. Good luck. Tommy, Martin.